All right, hello everyone. My name is Erik and I am a member of the Pipnotic community. I was asked by Sarid if I could make a short video about how I'm currently using the currency strength software. So that will be the topic for this video. And I also want to apologize for my English. It's not my native language, so please bear with me. As Sarid has shown in his videos, the currency strength software can be used in multiple ways. You can use it to support you in your discretionary trading, or you can use it in a fully automated way using a robot, and that is what I am currently doing. I have been running CSR live now for 2 weeks on the account that you are currently looking at. And before we have a look at the results, maybe I should talk a little bit about what I did before I decided to try the CSR on a live account. And that is, of course, a fair amount of testing. So I started forward testing in November, but to be honest, the first month of testing wasn't that productive because I had too few robots running and the settings were a little bit too strict. So it didn't produce enough trades, it didn't produce enough test data. So in December, I increased the number of robots to 12, distributed over 4 accounts. And this time they were running with less filters and they were allowed to trade more pairs. And I also used different settings for the modifier, the stop multiplier, and the target multiplier on each robot. And then I was running these configurations for 6 weeks. So I will switch to my FX book now and I will show you the results. Okay, so these are the results from my 6-week testing period on my demo accounts. And as you can see, these are pretty crazy results with between 20 and 35% profit in 6 weeks. But please keep in mind that these results were made with very aggressive settings that were chosen only to produce as much trades and as much test data as possible. This is nothing I would ever run on a live account. You can also see that it started out pretty bad here, with a balanced drawdown of almost 20% of on one of the accounts. And I remember that we talked about this week in the community. We all had pretty bad results during that December week. But then the accounts recovered very nice, and in the end of the testing period, as you can see, they were all way into profit. And these weeks gave me about 1,000 trades to analyze. And this analysis can be pretty hard to do, and it could be pretty hard to make sense of the data and aggregated data, since the trades are placed on multiple accounts and with different settings and so on. But there are a couple of good features in my FX book that I could show you that at least help me to make sense of my test data. So if I click on one of my accounts here, we can see that there is a feature called custom analysis. And using this feature, you can filter and break down the data by, for example, date. You can break it down by magic number, like this, to see the results of a single robot. And you can also filter the data by comment. So, for example, you can enter the time frame here, because the time frame is a part of the comment, and it will give you all the results. It will give you the results only for that time frame. Okay, so there were a couple of things that I could see when I broke down the data. First of all, and not that surprisingly, a higher modifier resulted in a higher win rate, but also in fewer trades. So during low volatility, the higher modifier robots will not trade, and during high volatility, you might end up with too many trades if you are using a low modifier. So I guess you have to find a balance there. The stop loss multiplier and the take profit multiplier also had great impact on the results. And these settings in turn affect the risk reward ratio and the amount of profit that could be made on each trade. And while there is always this trade-off between risk reward and win rate, the testing showed that going for a bigger stop loss, like a multiplier of 4 or above, which I think is also the default settings, at least in the ASH, and going for a more modest take profit was actually superior in the long run. At least on the modifiers that I were using, but this will probably vary depending on the modifier. For example, if you use a higher modifier and get in at a better price, then there could be a reason to believe that you might get away with a smaller stop and that you could also aim for a bigger target. But this of course has to be tested to see if that is the case. But in general and across the modifiers that I tested, a stop multiplier of 4 or higher increased the win rate quite significantly and yielded a better result in the long run. But if you're using a big stop and a big target, you can also expect less trades, since the robot, at least with its default settings, will only allow 1 trade per currency pair, which means that if the duration of the trade is longer, that slot will be occupied for a longer period of time, preventing new trades to be placed on that pair. Having all of this said, I am not done testing, I am not done analyzing. This is only what I have come up with so far, and there are so many ways to tweak and combine the settings. But it does for sure look like there is an edge here, and for me it seemed big enough to give it a shot on a live account. But I still recommend that you do not take my word for it, so please do your own testing and find out what works for you. Okay, so let's have a quick look at the results for the live account. Okay, so this is my live account down here at the bottom. I won't click on it because it will show all the details of my private trading account and with my account balance and so on, and I think I want to keep that private for now. But as you can see, it has made 11% in 2 weeks, and the win rate was around 68%. However, these results included a bit of micromanaging from my side. My plan was to run the robot set and forget, but that was harder than I thought. So, for example, before and after the Federal Reserve interest rate decision last week, things got pretty volatile and I closed some of the trades prematurely. And I have also turned robots on and off and modified the SL and TP settings on a couple of times during these weeks, which was not really my intention. So the last couple of days I actually took a step back, and I'm now running 3 robots with different modifiers, but they're all quite picky with modifiers of 2 or higher, because despite the good results, I wanted to slow things down a bit and get some peace of mind. And since the number of trades are basically dependent on the volatility, it's very hard to calculate a proper risk. So I recommend everyone to forward test their settings for a long period of time to get an idea of what number of trades one can expect, and then adjust the risk accordingly. And like I said, this is a work in progress. I am not at all done testing. So in addition to my live account, I have more robots running on demo, both CSR and ASH, all with different filters and settings. So the plan is to continuously evaluate the results and tweak the settings for every month that goes by. But the results seem very promising so far, and I'm very pleased with this software. So thank you, Sarit, for that. I think that was everything for now. I hope you're all having a great weekend, and happy trading. Bye.